So hey, it's me, it's Chris. This is the first time that you actually hear me talking because this is the first tutorial that I've ever done for YouTube, and I'm already excusing because I don't know if it will go well or not, but I hope that everybody can find some useful information in it as long as you're interested. So you could probably already see it in the title. This tutorial is going to be on 6 clubs. Um, We're going to start with some general information. Then I'll tell you everything about the prerequisites that you need to be able to do in order to succeed with 6 clubs. I'll also tell you how difficult I think 6 clubs really is, so that you know when you're ready to pick up the 6th club and work on that. And then we come to the core part, to the main part of the tutorial, which is how to practice the 7 clubs. So the special thing about this tutorial is that it's not only going to be on the technique that you will have to use for this certain juggling trick, but it's also going to be on how do I practice, should I structure my practice in order to succeed, in order to execute the trick with consistency, in order to consistently execute the trick over and over again. That's something that most tutorials do not do. Most tutorials tell you about how to throw a correct back cross, but they do not really guide you through the whole process of learning back crosses. They do not give you the necessary, they do not tell you how much patience you need, or how much effort you will have to put into the trick before you can actually see or feel the results. But that's what I'm trying to do with this tutorial. That's why the intro is maybe a bit longer, but I hope you'll enjoy it anyway. So let's get started. General information. This tutorial is going to be on 6 clubs, juggled in a fountain pattern, in an async fountain pattern, using triple rotations. Nothing else. So if you want to learn 6 club juggling in triple rotations in a sync pattern, you're wrong. If you want to learn a 7-5-6 pattern, you're wrong. If you want to learn a 7-5 triple double pattern, you're also wrong. The only thing that I will teach you is 6 clubs async fountain triples. The next thing are going to be the prerequisites. Prerequisites means what do you have to be able to do at least before you start working on the 6 clubs. I can only speak about myself. My personal experience tells me that you really have to be absolutely comfortable with 6 balls before you start working on 6 clubs. If you start working on 6 clubs before you are able to juggle 6 balls comfortably, you're wasting time and you're developing bad habits, and that's not a good thing. What does solid mean? Being able to juggle 6 balls easily in a solid 3 in each hand fountain pattern for me means that you can juggle it for, let's just say your record should be around 2 to maybe 10 minutes or something. At least you should have done at least 2 minutes of 6 ball juggling in the fountain pattern before you even start thinking about 6 clubs. Of course, you should also be able to juggle 5 clubs, but your 5 clubs should be like 100% consistent before you start thinking about this. And something that most people do not really pay attention to, and maybe do not even think about, is ring juggling. I figured that ring juggling really helps the club juggling, as you have to pay attention to the angle when you juggle an even number of rings, for example. And that's why I think being halfway decently consistent with 6 ring juggling is probably gonna push you further, and will make you progress even faster with 6 clubs. So that's all I have to say about prerequisites. How difficult do I think is 6 clubs? Well, I think it's around the same as 5 club back crosses in triples. It's definitely harder than 7 balls or 7 rings. I think 7 balls and 7 rings is still a lot easier. at least for me. And but it's much easier than 7 clubs. So some people might think, well, let's just skip 6 club fountain and learn the cascade, because, well, cascade feels more natural to me. I will never be able to do the fountain. I'm gonna progress much quicker with 7. I think that's absolutely wrong. 6 clubs is definitely a whole lot easier than 7. So, and you should not skip 6, because if you skip 6, I don't think you'll be able to learn the 7. And now let's come to the key point, which is how to practice. So you might be asking yourself, what do I mean with how to practice? What I mean with how to practice is the following. When you go into a gym and see the average juggler practicing, you'd probably see some guy working on whatever trick they like, changing the style of juggling, changing the props whenever they want, increasing, decreasing the number of objects whenever they want, however they want, and you would see him trying to have fun, which is not a bad thing at all. But I'm just gonna tell you what I think about what I would think of as the perfect way to practice. Before I do that, I'm just gonna say something else. The talking part in the beginning of the video is quite long, but some visual material is about to come, so don't worry, it's soon gonna be all over. So what I mean with structuring a practice is really important if you want to become a good juggler, especially if you want to become consistent. Consistent means being able to execute difficult moves over and over again without trying lots of times. And that's something that I think lots of people would like to be able to do. So here's my advice. Choose a number of tricks, let's say 40 tricks that you can do, in this case with clubs. Arrange them in any order you'd like. I would propose the following. Put all the 3 club tricks first, then the 4 club tricks, and then the 5 club tricks. And like that you can develop your own practice routine. You now go through this practice routine every time you practice, which means you'll be doing each trick of the list every time you go to practice. This makes sure that you'll make steady progress with all of your tricks whenever you practice. In order to maximize the amount of progress you make, you have to practice as often as you can. Not necessarily as often as you can, but I would say start with maybe 2 times a week, and then work yourself up to, let's say, every other day. That's probably a good goal. And it's also enough to progress on a fairly rapid pace. Now I'm going to tell you everything that I know about how to juggle 6 clubs, how to learn to juggle 6 clubs, in combination with this practice routine that you should develop. In order to do that, you need to understand how learning a trick, how the learning process works. 6 clubs is a very complex thing, so we need to break it down into easier steps that are easy enough even for the most average juggler to learn. This would mean breaking 6 clubs down into 3 in each hand, breaking 3 in each hand down even further to 2 in one hand, and breaking 2 in one hand down into easier steps. And in the following, I'm going to show you some visual material that will guide you through the whole process of learning 6 clubs, using different exercises with different numbers of objects. And the exercises in this video are shown in the exact same order that they should appear in your practice routine. So all I can say is now watch the video, think about it, and then listen to my comment at the very end, and you'll probably have some new ideas. That's all I can tell you. I hope you enjoy it. So here we are. In the beginning I'm just showing you what 6 clubs looks like. Just so that you know, just so you got some visual things, some visual impact. So I think that's a good idea because there aren't that many videos of 6 club juggling out there. As I already mentioned, you shouldn't just go for 6 clubs and to try to learn that by only working on the fountain. I know there are some people who've done that, but I assure you that you will make progress on a much more rapid pace if you follow my instructions. In the beginning, it's really hard to get used to that kind of practice structure, but once you've done it for a few weeks, it feels so natural. It will feel more natural to you than the random practice you've done before, and you will enjoy it because you will make a lot more progress than before. I'm showing in the video how you can break 6 clubs down. First of all, your goal should be to learn 3 in the right and 3 in the left hand. In order to juggle 3 in the right, you break it down to 2 in the right hand. You flash 2 clubs in the right hand in triples continuously and leave a hole for the 3rd club. That way you get used to 3 clubs in one hand. You then work your way up to the 3-club flash in one hand. What you shouldn't do, as you can see in the video, is moving your body in order to make it easier for you to juggle 3 in one hand. What's important is to pay attention to the angle that you use to throw the clubs. When you juggle even numbers, the clubs should be just slightly angled to the outside. So the clubs that come from the right hand should be angled slightly out to the right side, and the clubs from the left should be angled slightly out to the left. That's what makes even numbers so challenging. And the best exercise to practice this is the following that I show you with 4 clubs. It's swapping from async to sync and back using a high triple. And you'll do that continuously 2 times from the right side and then 2 times from the left side. This results in the following pattern. That's probably the best 6-club exercise there is. So, now, as I already mentioned, you should incorporate the 3 in one hand exercises as well as this 4-club trick in your practice routine whenever you want to. Usually I would suggest doing it in the 3 and the 4-club part. This exercise right there is another thing you should do. It's juggling 4 clubs, angling the clubs as far out to the side as possible. This helps because when you do 6 clubs, angling the clubs out to the side is even more difficult than with 4. Another thing that you have to pay attention to is the first throw. It should be relaxed. It should come from your whole arm and some motion from your knees, as you can see here. Work on the flash first. It should be really comfortable. When you throw with your arm rather than your wrist, you also reduce the risk of throwing the club behind you, because the first 2 or 3 throws are always the most challenging. And it takes some time to get used to the start, but once you get it, you got it. As you can see, when you look at my pattern from the front, or in this case from the back, that I really pay attention to the angles of the clubs. And once you manage to angle the clubs slightly out to the side, you do not have that many collision problems. But in order to become really confident and to become really comfortable with this technique, you need to do the exercises that I told you every day in the practice structure. But of course, you always have to work on the fountain itself and on pure endurance. That's something you cannot get around. And you should always end your practice, I think, with, let's just say, 30 attempts of the 6-club fountain. And no matter how well it goes, just accept it. And don't beat yourself up. Whenever you practice clubs, you should be working on a 6-club endurance at the very end, and you should try to do it 30 times. But you do not even have to count. After 2 weeks of following your practice structure every day, you'll feel progress if you want it or not. So, yeah, that's all I can say. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it helps. If you have any further questions, then just let me know in the comments or send me a private message. Yeah, then if you want any other tutorial, then just ask. See you.